Maria Gonzalez had been working the morning shift at Rosie's Diner in Oceanside, California for 3 years. It wasn't glamorous work, her feet ached by noon, her apron was always stained with coffee, and the tips barely covered her bills. But it was steady, it was honest, and most importantly, the owner let her bring her daughter Emma to work when the babysitter couldn't make it. Emma was 7 years old, small for her age, with dark curls and the brightest smile Maria had ever seen. She was also blind, or at least, that's what Maria had been told by every doctor she'd taken Emma to since she was born. Congenital blindness, the specialists had said. Her optic nerves didn't develop properly. There's nothing we can do. She'll never see. Maria had cried for weeks after that diagnosis. But then she dried her tears and decided that Emma would have the best life possible, sight or no sight. She taught Emma to navigate by sound and touch. She read to her every night, describing colors and sunsets and all the beautiful things Emma couldn't see. She saved every penny for Emma's education at a special school for the blind. This Tuesday morning was like any other. Maria arrived at Rosie's Diner at 5:30, Emma holding her hand. Emma carried her white cane, a small one, sized for a child, and wore the dark glasses that helped protect her sensitive eyes from light that she couldn't even perceive. "Good morning, sweet girl," Rosie called out from behind the counter. She was 65, with gray hair pulled back in a practical bun and a heart as big as Texas. "You want your usual breakfast?" "Yes, please, Miss Rosie," Emma said in her soft, polite voice. "Pancakes with extra syrup." "Coming right up, honey." Maria settled Emma at the corner booth, the same one they always used. Emma knew this booth by touch and memory. She could find the napkin dispenser, the sugar packets, the spot where the vinyl seat had a small tear. This was her safe space while Mama worked. Maria kissed the top of Emma's head. "I'll check on you every few minutes, Mija. If you need anything, just call out, okay?" "Okay, Mama." The morning rush started around 6:30. Truckers stopping for coffee before hitting the road. Construction workers grabbing breakfast before their shifts. Regular customers who came every day and knew Maria by name. Maria moved efficiently between tables, pouring coffee, taking orders, delivering plates of eggs and hash browns. She checked on Emma every 10 minutes, making sure her daughter was okay, that she had her audio player with books on tape to keep her entertained. Around 7:30, a man walked in that Maria didn't recognize. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with the kind of build that came from serious physical training. His dark hair was cut military short, and he had the bearing of someone used to command. He wore jeans and a plain black t-shirt, but something about him screamed discipline and authority. What caught Maria's attention more than the man was his dog. A German shepherd, big and alert, wearing a service vest that identified him as a military working dog. The man chose a booth near the window, 2 spots away from where Emma sat. The dog settled at his feet immediately, perfectly behaved. Maria walked over with her order pad and coffee pot. "Good morning. Coffee?" "Please," the man said. His voice was quiet but carried weight. "Black, no sugar." Maria poured, noting the scars on his hands, the kind that came from hard use, not accidents. "You know what you want to eat, or do you need a minute?" "I'll take the number 3. Scrambled eggs, wheat toast, no hash browns. And a side of bacon for Axel here, if that's okay." Maria glanced at the dog, who looked up at her with intelligent brown eyes. "Axel's a service dog." "Military working dog," the man corrected. "Retired now. I'm Lieutenant Rachel Cortez, Navy." "Just Rachel is fine. Axel and I served together overseas." Maria's eyes widened slightly. She'd heard about women in special operations units, it had been in the news, but she'd never met one. This woman looked like she could handle anything life threw at her. "Thank you for your service," Maria said, meaning it. "I'll get that order in." As she walked away, Maria saw Axel's head turn toward Emma's booth. The dog was watching Emma with focused attention, not aggressive, but alert. Interested. Emma was listening to her audiobook, her small hands folded on the table. She'd finished her pancakes and was waiting patiently for Mama to have a break so they could talk. Maria delivered Rachel's food 15 minutes later. Here you go. The bacon for Axel is on the side. Thank you, Rachel said. But she wasn't looking at Maria. She was looking at Emma. That's my daughter, Maria said, a note of protection in her voice. Is there a problem? No problem, Rachel said carefully. It's just. Axel's reacting to her. He's trained to detect threats, but this isn't his threat response. It's something else. Maria glanced at the dog. Axel was still watching Emma, his head tilted slightly, ears forward. Emma's blind, Maria explained. Maybe the dog senses that. I've heard animals can tell when people have disabilities. Maybe, Rachel said, but she sounded uncertain. Maria went back to work, but she noticed that throughout Rachel's meal, the Navy SEAL kept glancing at Emma. And Axel never stopped watching her. It made Maria nervous, though she couldn't say why. Rachel didn't seem threatening. If anything, she seemed concerned. Curious. Rachel finished her meal, left a generous tip, and stood to leave. But instead of heading for the door, she walked over to Emma's booth. Excuse me, Rachel said gently. I'm Rachel. I noticed you sitting here, and I wanted to say hello. Emma turned her head toward Rachel's voice, smiling politely. Hello. I'm Emma. This is my mama's restaurant. Well, not really hers, but she works here. I met your mama. She seems very nice. Rachel paused. Emma, I have a question. Is it okay if my dog Axel comes closer to you? He's very gentle, and he seems interested in meeting you. Emma's face lit up. You have a dog? I love dogs. Mama says maybe someday we can get one, but our apartment doesn't allow pets. Axel is right here, Rachel said. Can I bring him over? Emma nodded eagerly. Rachel guided Axel to Emma's booth. The dog approached slowly, sitting right in front of Emma. Then he did something unusual. He raised one paw and placed it gently on Emma's knee. Emma reached out carefully, finding Axel's head, running her small hands over his fur. Oh, he's so soft. And big. What kind of dog is he? German Shepherd, Rachel said. He's a military working dog. We served together in Afghanistan. You're a soldier. Navy SEAL. A girl Navy SEAL? Emma asked, delighted. I didn't know girls could be Navy SEALs. Not many are, Rachel admitted. But yes, some of us made it through the program. Maria had been watching this interaction from across the diner. It seemed innocent enough, a veteran being kind to a blind child. But something about the way Rachel was studying Emma made Maria uneasy. Axel was still unusual. He'd moved his head right in front of Emma's face, staring at her with intense focus. Emma was petting him, oblivious, but the dog seemed to be studying her eyes behind those dark glasses. Rachel pulled out her phone, typed something quickly, then looked up at Maria, who'd come over to check on Emma. Your daughter is beautiful, Rachel said. How long has she been blind? Since birth, Maria said. The doctors said her optic nerves didn't develop properly. There's no cure, no treatment. She'll never see. What doctors? Rachel asked. Maria frowned slightly. What do you mean? I mean, what specialists have examined her? Ophthalmologists, neurologists, anyone at a major medical center? We went to a clinic when she was a baby, Maria said, feeling defensive now. They ran tests. They told me she was blind. Why are you asking these questions? Rachel chose her words carefully. Because Axel is trained to detect a lot of things. Explosives, weapons, drugs. But he's also highly attuned to human behavior and body language. And right now, he's reacting to your daughter in a way I've never seen before. It's like he knows something's wrong, but not the kind of wrong he was trained to detect. Nothing's wrong, Maria said, her voice rising slightly. She's blind, but she's healthy and happy. Mama? Emma interrupted. Is something wrong? No, Mija, Maria said quickly. Everything's fine. This nice lady was just saying hello. Rachel reached into her pocket and pulled out a business card. She handed it to Maria. I'm sorry if I overstepped. But if you're ever willing to get a second opinion about Emma's condition, I know some excellent doctors at the Naval Medical Center. They owe me favors. I could make a call. Maria took the card reluctantly. We don't have insurance that would cover specialists. And I've already been told there's nothing that can be done. What if you're wrong? Rachel asked gently. What if there's something the first doctors missed? Wouldn't you want to know? Of course I would, Maria said, her voice breaking slightly. But I can't afford to hope. Every time I hoped over the past 7 years, I just ended up disappointed. It's easier to accept that Emma's blind and focus on giving her the best life she can have. Rachel looked at Emma, who was still petting Axel, completely unaware of the conversation happening above her head. I understand. But Maria, I've seen a lot in my years of service. I've learned to trust my instincts. And right now, every instinct I have is telling me that something about Emma's condition doesn't add up. What do you mean? Maria asked. The way she holds her head. The way she responds to sounds. The way she moves her eyes behind those glasses. Rachel paused. I'm not a doctor. I could be completely wrong. But Axel isn't usually wrong. And he's telling me something's off. Maria looked at the card in her hand. Lieutenant Rachel Cortez, Navy SEAL. A phone number. An email address. Think about it, Rachel said. If I'm wrong, you've lost nothing but an afternoon. But if I'm right. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Maria watched Rachel and Axel leave the diner, her mind spinning. For 7 years, she'd accepted Emma's blindness as fact. She'd built their entire life around it. She'd stopped hoping for miracles because hope was too painful when it led nowhere. But what if this Navy SEAL was right? What if there was something the doctors had missed? Mama? Emma called out. Can we get a dog like Axel someday? Maria looked at her daughter, her beautiful, brave daughter who navigated a dark world with such grace and courage. Emma deserved every chance at seeing the light. Maybe, Mija, Maria said softly. Maybe we can. That night, after tucking Emma into bed in their small one-bedroom apartment, Maria sat at the kitchen table and stared at Rachel's business card. She'd pulled it out of her apron pocket a dozen times during her shift, reading it over and over. What did a Navy SEAL know about blindness? What made her think she could see something that trained doctors had missed? But then Maria thought about Axel, that dog's intelligent, focused attention on Emma. The way he'd studied her like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Animals knew things sometimes. Sensed things that humans missed. Maria picked up her phone. It was late, almost 10 o'clock, but Rachel had said to call any time. Still, Maria hesitated. This was crazy. She was about to call a complete stranger and ask for help based on nothing but a dog's reaction and a veteran's instincts. But Emma deserved every chance. Every possibility. Every hope, no matter how slim. Maria dialed the number. Rachel answered on the second ring. Lieutenant Cortez. This is Maria Gonzalez. From the diner this morning. Emma's mother. Maria, Rachel said, her voice warming. I'm glad you called. I don't know why I'm calling, Maria admitted. This is probably crazy. But I can't stop thinking about what you said. About Emma. About something not adding up. It's not crazy, Rachel said firmly. Trust your instincts. If something's telling you to look deeper, look deeper. Can you really get Emma in to see specialists? Maria asked. Because I've tried before, and without good insurance, the wait lists are months long, and the costs. I can get her in within a week, Rachel interrupted. I meant what I said about favors owed. And the costs will be covered, the Navy takes care of its own, and that includes civilians who need help. Maria felt tears welling up. Why are you doing this? You don't know us. Rachel was quiet for a moment. Because I spent 12 years fighting for people I didn't know, in countries I'd never been to. Now I'm home, and I'm still fighting for people, just in a different way. Emma deserves to have every resource available to her. Let me help make that happen. Okay, Maria whispered. Okay. What do I need to do? Bring Emma to the Naval Medical Center in San Diego this Friday at 9 a.m., Rachel said. I'll meet you there. We'll see Dr. Patricia Brennan, she's one of the best pediatric ophthalmologists in the country. She'll do a complete evaluation, and we'll go from there. Friday, Maria repeated, her hands shaking. Okay. We'll be there. After hanging up, Maria sat in the darkness of her kitchen and cried. She cried from hope and fear in equal measure. Hope that maybe, just maybe, there was something that could help Emma. Fear that she was about to have her heart broken all over again when the specialists confirmed what she'd been told 7 years ago. But she had to try. For Emma's sake, she had to try. In her bedroom, Emma slept peacefully, dreaming dreams she could only hear and feel, not see. She didn't know that her life was about to change forever. That a chance encounter with a Navy SEAL and her dog would expose a truth that had been hidden for 7 years. A truth that would shatter everything Maria thought she knew, and reveal a betrayal that went deeper than anyone could have imagined. Friday morning arrived cold and overcast. Maria had barely slept the night before, tossing and turning, wondering if she was making a terrible mistake. She'd called in sick to work, the first time in 3 years, knowing Rosie would understand but hating to leave her boss short-staffed. Emma sensed her mother's tension. Mama, where are we going today? You said we have an appointment. We're going to see a doctor, Mija, Maria said, helping Emma into her jacket. A special doctor who wants to check your eyes. But you said the doctors can't fix my eyes, Emma said, confused. You said I'll always be blind. Maria's heart clenched. I know, baby. But this doctor is very good, and she wants to make sure we didn't miss anything. It's just a checkup, okay? They took 2 buses to reach the Naval Medical Center in San Diego, a sprawling complex that intimidated Maria with its size and official military presence. She almost turned back 3 times, but each time she looked at Emma's trusting face and forced herself to keep going. Rachel was waiting at the main entrance, Axel at her side. She was in uniform today, the Navy working uniform that somehow made her look even more formidable. But her smile was warm when she saw them. Maria. Emma. Right on time. She knelt down to Emma's level. Hey, Emma. Remember me? And Axel? Emma's face lit up. The lady with the dog. Is Axel here? He sure is. Want to say hello? Emma reached out and found Axel's head, petting him with obvious delight. The dog remained perfectly still, patient and gentle. Rachel stood and addressed Maria quietly. Dr. Brennan is ready for us. She's cleared her morning schedule. Whatever we find out today, you'll have answers. They went through security and navigated the maze of corridors until they reached the ophthalmology department. Dr. Patricia Brennan was waiting in her office, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. Mrs. Gonzalez, she said, shaking Maria's hand. And this must be Emma. Rachel has told me about your daughter's case. I'd like to do a comprehensive examination, if that's all right with you. Of course, Maria said. Whatever you need to do. The examination took 2 hours. Dr. Brennan was thorough and patient, explaining each test to Emma in simple terms so she wouldn't be scared. She examined Emma's eyes with various instruments, tested her light perception, checked her pupil responses, and did several other tests that Maria didn't fully understand. Rachel and Axel waited in the office with Maria. At one point, Axel stood up and moved to Maria's side, resting his head on her knee as if sensing her anxiety. Maria found herself petting the dog, drawing comfort from his solid, warm presence. Finally, Dr. Brennan finished. Emma, you did wonderfully. I'm going to have you wait in the next room with Nurse Campbell while I talk to your mama, okay? Okay, Emma said. A young nurse led her to an adjacent room, giving her an audiobook and headphones. Dr. Brennan closed the door and sat down heavily at her desk. The expression on her face made Maria's stomach drop. What is it? Maria asked. Is it worse than we thought? Is there? Mrs. Gonzalez, Dr. Brennan interrupted gently, your daughter is not blind. The room went silent. Maria stared at the doctor, certain she'd misheard. What? She whispered. Emma is not blind, Dr. Brennan repeated. She has perfect vision. Her eyes are completely healthy. Her optic nerves are fully developed and functioning normally. There is absolutely nothing wrong with her eyesight. Maria couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. That's impossible. She's been blind since birth. Multiple doctors told me. Multiple doctors were wrong, Dr. Brennan said firmly. Or. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Someone lied to you. I don't understand, Maria said, her voice rising. Emma uses a cane. She wears dark glasses. She can't see, she's never been able to see. Mrs. Gonzalez, Rachel said quietly, when did Emma start wearing the glasses? When she was about 6 months old. The doctor said they would protect her sensitive eyes from light she couldn't perceive. And who was this doctor? Dr. Brennan asked. Dr. Hernandez. At the community clinic in Oceanside. He examined Emma when she was just a few weeks old, said she was blind, and prescribed the glasses. Dr. Brennan and Rachel exchanged a look that Maria couldn't interpret. Mrs. Gonzalez, Dr. Brennan said carefully, I need to ask you some difficult questions. Is Emma's father in the picture? Maria's face hardened. No. He left when I was pregnant. I haven't seen him in 7 years. And this Dr. Hernandez, did someone recommend him to you, or did you choose him yourself? Maria thought back, her mind foggy with shock. My ex-boyfriend's mother recommended him. She said he was good with children, that he'd helped several babies in their community. She trailed off, realization beginning to dawn. Oh my God. What was your ex-boyfriend's name? Rachel asked, pulling out a notebook. Carlos Ruiz, Maria said, her voice hollow. His mother was Teresa Ruiz. She was always nice to me, even after Carlos left. She'd check on me during the pregnancy, after Emma was born. She was the one who took me to see Dr. Hernandez the first time. And after the diagnosis? Dr. Brennan prompted. Did Dr. Hernandez continue to see Emma? Every few months for checkups, Maria said. He'd examine her, adjust her glasses prescription, tell me there was no change, no hope of improvement. He never charged me much, said he wanted to help a single mother. She looked up, horror spreading across her face. It was all a lie. All of it. I need to examine Emma's glasses, Dr. Brennan said. May I? Maria nodded numbly. Dr. Brennan went into the other room and returned with Emma's dark glasses. She held them up to the light, then placed them under a special instrument on her desk. These aren't regular dark glasses, Dr. Brennan said, her voice tight with anger. These lenses are specially designed to obscure vision. They're dark enough that someone wearing them would perceive everything as shadows and shapes, but not actual images. A child wearing these from infancy would learn to navigate without sight, because the glasses essentially blinded her. Maria felt like she was going to be sick. Why? Why would anyone do this? Rachel's jaw was tight. I have a theory. But first, I need to know, did Carlos or his family ever express interest in Emma after the diagnosis? Teresa called sometimes, Maria said, trying to remember through her shock. Asking how Emma was doing, if I needed help. But she never offered to actually help, just asked questions. About Emma's condition, about what the doctor said, about my plans for her future. Did she ever suggest that Emma might be better off in a special facility? Rachel asked. Or with someone who had more resources to care for a blind child? Maria's eyes widened. Yes. Several times. She said it wasn't fair for me to struggle alone, that there were places that could help Emma, people who specialized in caring for disabled children. I always said no. Emma is my daughter. I'd never give her up. That's what they were trying to do, Rachel said, her voice cold with fury. They were trying to convince you to give up custody of Emma so they could place her somewhere, probably with falsified documents claiming she was severely disabled and needed institutional care. Then they could access her benefits, maybe collect insurance money, possibly even apply for government assistance on her behalf while keeping her hidden away. But why? Maria asked, tears streaming down her face. Why do this to an innocent child? To their own granddaughter? Money, most likely, Dr. Brennan said. Sadly, there's a black market for disabled children, people who fraudulently collect benefits, insurance payouts, government assistance. If they could convince you that Emma needed institutional care, they could place her in a facility they controlled and collect all those funds. And by keeping her believing she was blind, Rachel added, they ensured she'd never question it, never realize she could actually see. Emma genuinely thinks she's blind because she's been taught that since birth. She's been wearing glasses that blocked her vision, been told she couldn't see, been trained to use a cane and navigate without sight. She doesn't know any different. Maria was sobbing now, great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. 7 years. 7 years of my baby living in darkness that was forced on her. 7 years of me believing she'd never see colors or sunsets or my face. All because of a lie. Dr. Brennan came around her desk and put a hand on Maria's shoulder. I'm so sorry. This is a form of abuse, medical abuse and fraud. We need to report this immediately to the police and to medical licensing boards. I want to kill them, Maria said, her voice shaking with rage. I want to kill Carlos and his mother and this fake doctor for what they did to Emma. I understand, Rachel said. But right now, we need to focus on Emma. We need to figure out how to tell her the truth, how to help her transition to actually using her vision. Can we just take off the glasses? Maria asked desperately. Let her see right now. It's not that simple, Dr. Brennan explained gently. Emma's brain has been trained for 7 years to process information without visual input. If we suddenly expose her to full vision, it could be overwhelming, even traumatic. We need to do this gradually, with support from specialists who understand visual processing and neuroplasticity. How long will it take? Maria asked. Weeks, maybe months, Dr. Brennan said. Every case is different. But Emma is young, her brain is still developing and adaptable. With proper therapy, she should be able to develop normal vision. She'll be able to see, Maria. Truly see. Maria covered her face with her hands, overcome with emotion, relief, rage, grief, hope all tangled together. Rachel knelt beside her chair. Maria, I know this is overwhelming. But we're going to help you through this. The first step is filing a police report. Then we'll work on Emma's therapy. And we'll make sure the people who did this face justice. Can I see her? Maria asked. I need to see my daughter. Of course, Dr. Brennan said. They brought Emma back into the room. She turned her head toward her mother's voice, smiling. Mama? Are we done? Can we go home now? Maria pulled Emma into her arms, holding her so tight. Soon, Mija. Soon. I love you so much. Do you know that? I know, Mama, Emma said, hugging her back. I love you too. Did the doctor say my eyes are okay? Maria looked at Dr. Brennan, who nodded slightly. Not the full truth yet, but something. Dr. Brennan says your eyes are actually doing better than we thought, Maria said carefully. She wants to try some new treatments that might help you. Would you be okay with that? Will it hurt? Emma asked. No, baby. It won't hurt. It might be confusing sometimes, but Dr. Brennan and Rachel and I will all be here to help you. I promise. After making appointments for Emma's vision therapy and giving Maria information about counseling services, Dr. Brennan walked them to the exit. Rachel and Axel accompanied them. I've contacted the military police, Rachel said quietly to Maria. They're coordinating with Oceanside PD. They want to interview you about Dr. Hernandez and the Ruiz family. Are you up for that today? Maria looked at Emma, who was walking beside her, one hand holding Maria's arm, the other trailing along the wall for guidance, behaviors she'd learned because she thought she was blind. Yes, Maria said firmly. I want to do it today. I want these people arrested and charged and punished for what they did to my daughter. They will be, Rachel promised. I'll make sure of it. They spent 3 hours at the Oceanside police station. Maria gave a detailed statement about Dr. Hernandez, the clinic where he'd examined Emma, the regular checkups over the years. She provided Teresa Ruiz's phone number and address. She described every interaction she could remember. Detective Sarah Wong, who specialized in medical fraud cases, listened carefully and took extensive notes. This is one of the worst cases I've seen, she admitted. Deliberately blinding a child for financial gain, that's not just fraud, that's child abuse, false imprisonment in a sense, conspiracy. If we can prove this was coordinated between Dr. Hernandez and the Ruiz family, they're all looking at serious prison time. How do we prove it? Maria asked. We'll need to find financial connections between them, Wong explained. Bank records, payment trails. We'll also need to investigate this clinic, see if there are other victims, other children who were misdiagnosed. And we'll need Emma to undergo psychiatric evaluation to document the psychological impact. She doesn't know yet, Maria said. That she's not really blind. The doctor said we have to tell her gradually, carefully. We'll work with child psychologists who specialize in this kind of trauma, Wong assured her. Your daughter will have all the support she needs. Over the next week, the investigation moved quickly. Rachel had connections throughout the military and law enforcement community, and she used every one of them to push the case forward. Dr. Hernandez was arrested at his clinic. His medical license was immediately suspended. A search of his records revealed 3 other children he'd misdiagnosed with various conditions, all children of single mothers, all conditions that made them eligible for disability benefits. Teresa Ruiz was arrested at her home. Police found documents they're planning to have Emma declared incompetent and placed in a care facility that Teresa partially owned, a facility that was already under investigation for benefit fraud. Carlos Ruiz was harder to find. He'd been living in Mexico for the past 5 years, but Rachel's contacts with border enforcement agencies tracked him down. He was extradited to face charges. And through it all, Emma still didn't know. She went about her life thinking she was blind, using her cane, listening to her audiobooks, navigating by sound and touch. Until the day Dr. Brennan said it was time to begin vision therapy. Time to start showing Emma the truth. Maria held her daughter's hand as they entered the therapy room at the Naval Medical Center. Emma was nervous but trusting. Emma, Dr. Brennan said gently, we're going to try something new today. We're going to take off your dark glasses and put on different ones. These new glasses will let more light through. It might feel strange at first, but I want you to tell me what you notice, okay? Okay, Emma said uncertainly. Dr. Brennan carefully removed Emma's dark, vision-blocking glasses. For the first time in 7 years, Emma's eyes were exposed to unfiltered light. She blinked, squinting. "It's so bright," Emma said, sounding scared. "That's good," Dr. Brennan said. "Your eyes are working exactly right. Now I'm going to put these lighter glasses on you. They're going to let you see shapes and colors. It might be confusing, so we'll go very slowly." She placed special therapy glasses on Emma, lenses that still reduced visual input, but allowed much more through than the blocking glasses. Emma gasped. "Mama. I see something. I see shapes. Moving." Maria was crying. "That's me, baby. You're seeing me move." "But I thought I was blind," Emma said, confused and starting to panic. "The doctor said I was blind. I can't see. I'm not supposed to see." Dr. Brennan knelt in front of Emma. "Emma, listen to me. You were never blind. Your eyes have always worked perfectly. But some bad people gave you glasses that stopped you from seeing, and they told you that you couldn't see. They lied to you, and to your mama. But it's not true. You can see. And we're going to teach you how." Emma's small face crumpled. "I can see. Really? Really, Mija," Maria said, pulling her daughter close. "You can see. And one day soon, you're going to see everything. Colors and sunsets and flowers and my face. Everything." Emma cried then, confused, overwhelmed, but also beginning to feel something else. Hope. Wonder. The possibility of a world beyond darkness. "Can I see you, Mama?" she whispered. "Can I see what you look like?" "Soon, baby," Maria promised. "Very soon." The vision therapy progressed faster than anyone expected. Dr. Brennan had warned that it might take months for Emma to learn to process visual information, but the little girl was determined and adaptable. Her young brain, still developing and plastic, began connecting images to all the sounds and textures she'd learned to navigate by. Within 2 weeks, Emma could identify shapes and colors through the therapy glasses. Within a month, she could recognize people by their faces, not just their voices. And 6 weeks after that first appointment, Dr. Brennan removed the therapy glasses entirely. Emma could see. The moment was in Dr. Brennan's office, with Maria, Rachel, and Axel present. Dr. Brennan had prepared Emma carefully, explaining that today they were going to try seeing without any glasses at all. Emma sat in the examination chair, nervous and excited. Dr. Brennan carefully removed the therapy glasses. For the first time in her entire life, Emma saw the world with her own unobstructed vision. She blinked several times, adjusting to the clarity. Then she turned her head slowly, taking everything in. The walls. The equipment. Dr. Brennan's kind face. Then she looked at her mother. Maria was sitting beside the examination chair, tears already streaming down her face. Emma stared at her mother like she was seeing a miracle, which, in a way, she was. "Mama," Emma whispered. "You're so pretty." Maria sobbed, pulling Emma into her arms. "Oh, Mija. My beautiful girl. You can see me. You can really see me." "I can see you," Emma repeated, wonder in her voice. "I can see your face and your hair and your eyes. You're crying. I can see your tears." Emma pulled back and looked around the room again. "Everything is so much. There are so many things." "That's because you're seeing," Dr. Brennan said, smiling through her own tears. "That's what the world looks like." Emma turned toward Rachel and Axel. "You're the lady who helped us. You have short hair. It's dark brown. And Axel," She slipped off the examination chair and knelt in front of the dog. Axel, you're beautiful. Your fur is brown and black and tan. And your eyes are brown. I can see your eyes. Axel, who'd been sitting patiently, seemed to understand something important was happening. He licked Emma's face gently, making her laugh. He knew, Emma said, looking up at Rachel. Didn't he? He knew I wasn't really blind. Yes, Rachel said. Axel's trained to read people. He sensed something was wrong, that you could see but were being prevented from seeing. That's why he kept watching you at the diner. He was trying to tell me something was off. Emma hugged Axel, burying her face in his fur. Thank you, Axel. Thank you for knowing. Over the next weeks, Emma's world expanded exponentially. Maria took her to see everything, the ocean, flowers, sunsets, stars. Emma would stand and stare at things for long minutes, processing the visual information, connecting it to what she'd learned through touch and sound. The ocean is blue, she said one evening, standing on the beach at Oceanside. I knew that because people told me. But I didn't know what blue looked like. It's like the sky but darker. It's so beautiful, Mama. It is, Mija, Maria agreed, holding her daughter's hand. It's so beautiful. But there were difficult moments too. Emma struggled with nightmares, dreams where she couldn't see again, where the darkness came back. She had panic attacks when she had to close her eyes, afraid they wouldn't open again. She needed extensive therapy to process the trauma of what had been done to her. Dr. Patricia Lane, a child psychologist specializing in abuse cases, worked with Emma 3 times a week. She helped Emma understand that what had happened wasn't her fault, that the bad people who'd hurt her were being punished, that she was safe now. Emma has been through a form of torture, Dr. Lane explained to Maria. She was deliberately isolated from one of her fundamental senses. That creates deep psychological wounds. But she's resilient, and with support, she'll heal. Meanwhile, the criminal cases were moving forward. Detective Wong had built a solid case against all 3 defendants, Dr. Hernandez, Teresa Ruiz, and Carlos Ruiz. Rachel attended every court hearing, sitting in the gallery as a show of support. Maria was terrified of facing these people who'd hurt her daughter, but Rachel's presence gave her courage. The preliminary hearing came 3 months after Emma regained her sight. Maria had to testify, describing the diagnosis, the years of believing her daughter was blind, the glasses that had deliberately blocked Emma's vision. Dr. Hernandez's lawyer tried to argue that it was a medical mistake, not deliberate fraud. But the evidence was overwhelming. Financial records showed regular payments from Teresa Ruiz to Dr. Hernandez. Emails between them discussed their plan to have Emma declared incompetent and institutionalized. Documents from the care facility Teresa co-owned showed applications for government benefits in Emma's name that would have been collected by the facility. It was a conspiracy, carefully planned and executed over 7 years. When Carlos Ruiz took the stand, Maria finally understood why. He admitted that he'd never wanted a child. When Maria got pregnant, his mother had pushed him to stay, but he'd wanted out. After Emma was born, Teresa came up with the plan: if Emma was disabled, Maria might give her up. Then Teresa could place Emma in the care facility, collect benefits, and Carlos would never have to pay child support or be responsible for a child he didn't want. She wasn't even a person to you, Maria said when she was allowed to give a victim impact statement. My daughter, your daughter, was just an obstacle to be removed. You were willing to steal her sight, steal 7 years of her life, just so you wouldn't have to be inconvenienced. Carlos wouldn't meet her eyes. Teresa sat stone-faced, showing no remorse. But you failed, Maria continued, her voice growing stronger. Emma can see now. She's thriving. She's happy. And she knows what you did, and she knows you're being punished for it. You didn't break her. You didn't break us. We're stronger than you ever imagined. The judge listened to all the testimony, reviewed all the evidence, and made his ruling. All three defendants were bound over for trial on multiple charges: child abuse, fraud, conspiracy, practicing medicine without proper credentials, Dr. Hernandez's medical license turned out to be partially falsified, and several other counts. The trials were scheduled for 6 months later. During that time, Emma continued to heal and grow. She started regular school for the first time. She'd been enrolled in a school for the blind, but now she could attend the elementary school near their apartment. She struggled initially with reading. She'd learned Braille but had to start over with visual reading. But she was determined and bright, and she caught up quickly. She made friends who'd known her as the blind girl, and were amazed by her transformation. Some kids were mean, asking intrusive questions or making insensitive comments. But Emma handled it with grace beyond her years. "I was blind because bad people made me blind," she told one persistent classmate. "But now I can see, and they're going to jail. So I win." Rachel became a regular presence in their lives. She visited weekly, bringing Axel with her. Emma adored both of them. Rachel taught Emma self-defense basics, not because she was in danger, but because Emma had expressed fear about being helpless. Learning to protect herself gave Emma back a sense of control. "You're not just teaching her to fight," Maria observed one afternoon, watching Rachel show Emma how to break a wrist grab. "You're teaching her she's strong." "She is strong," Rachel said. "She survived something that would have broken many adults. Now she's learning to trust her own power. That's important." Maria and Rachel had become friends too, an unlikely friendship between a Navy SEAL and a waitress, but genuine. Rachel was teaching Maria self-defense as well, and they'd had long conversations about trauma, healing, and finding purpose after surviving something terrible. "Why did you help us?" Maria asked one evening after Emma had gone to bed. They were sitting on Maria's small balcony, drinking coffee. "You didn't know us. You could have just walked away after breakfast at the diner." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "I've seen a lot of suffering in my career. I've fought enemies, saved lives, lost friends. But I couldn't save everyone. I couldn't fix every wrong." She paused. "When I saw Emma that morning, when Axel reacted to her, I knew something was wrong. And for once, I could actually do something about it. I could fix this one wrong. How could I walk away from that?" "You gave my daughter her sight," Maria said, her voice breaking. "You gave us back our lives. I'll never be able to repay that." "You don't have to repay it," Rachel said firmly. "You just have to keep being the amazing mother you are. Keep fighting for Emma. Keep building your lives. That's enough." The trials finally came. Media attention was intense. The story of a child deliberately blinded for profit had captured national headlines. Advocacy groups for disabled children attended the proceedings. Journalists filled the courtroom gallery. Emma didn't attend, she was too young, and Dr. Lane advised keeping her away from the proceedings to avoid re-traumatizing her. But Maria was there every day, with Rachel beside her. Dr. Hernandez's trial came first. The evidence against him was damning. Other victims came forward, children he'd misdiagnosed, families he'd defrauded. His lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal, but the prosecutor pushed for maximum sentences. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Teresa Ruiz's trial was next. She maintained that she'd been trying to help, that she believed Emma needed institutional care, that she hadn't understood the glasses were blocking Emma's vision. But the emails and financial records proved otherwise. She'd planned the whole scheme, recruited Dr. Hernandez, orchestrated Emma's false diagnosis. Guilty on all counts. Carlos Ruiz had already taken a plea deal, agreeing to testify against his mother and Dr. Hernandez in exchange for a reduced sentence. He admitted everything: his role in the conspiracy, his desire to avoid responsibility for his child, his knowledge that Emma wasn't actually blind. At sentencing, the judge was scathing. "You three conspired to steal a child's sight for financial gain. You forced a little girl to live in artificial darkness for 7 years. You traumatized her, isolated her, limited her potential, all for money. This is one of the most egregious cases of child abuse I've seen in my 30 years on the bench. Dr. Hernandez received 25 years in federal prison. Teresa Ruiz received 20 years. Carlos Ruiz, because of his cooperation, received 12 years. Justice, Maria whispered when the sentences were read. Finally, justice. Outside the courthouse, surrounded by reporters, Maria made a brief statement. My daughter Emma was a victim of a terrible crime. But she's not a victim anymore. She's a survivor. She's strong and brave and beautiful, and she can see the world now. That's what matters. A reporter called out, "What do you want people to know about what happened?" Maria thought for a moment. I want people to know that if something feels wrong, even if doctors or authorities tell you it's fine, trust your instincts. I accepted Emma's diagnosis because I trusted the doctors, because I didn't think I had the right to question them. But I should have questioned. I should have pushed harder for second opinions. She looked at Rachel, standing beside her. And I want people to know that sometimes help comes from unexpected places. A Navy SEAL and her dog changed our lives because they paid attention, because they cared enough to get involved. We need more people like that in the world. 2 years after that morning at Rosie's Diner, Maria and Emma's lives had transformed completely. They'd moved to a better apartment, one that allowed dogs. Emma finally had her own bedroom instead of sharing Maria's. And they had a dog, a young German Shepherd that Rachel had helped them adopt from a military working dog breeding program. Emma named him Hero, after Axel. Axel's my hero because he knew I could see, Emma explained. So our dog should be named Hero too. Emma was 9 now, thriving in 3rd grade. She'd caught up academically and was actually ahead in several subjects. She loved art class especially. She could see colors now, could create instead of just imagine. Her teachers reported that she had an unusual empathy and awareness. She noticed when other kids were struggling or being bullied. She stood up for the underdog. She seemed to understand suffering in a way most 9-year-olds didn't. She's been through something terrible, Maria explained to Emma's teacher. But instead of making her bitter, it made her kind. She doesn't want anyone else to feel helpless the way she did. Maria had been promoted at Rosie's Diner to assistant manager. The pay was better, the hours more regular. Rosie had been incredibly supportive through everything, giving Maria time off for court appearances and therapy appointments without complaint. But Maria had also started thinking about her future differently. She'd been accepted into a community college program to become a licensed vocational nurse. It would take 3 years, studying part-time while still working, but she was determined. I want to help people, she told Rachel during one of their regular coffee meetings. Especially children. Especially those who've been hurt or neglected. I want to be the kind of person who notices when something's wrong, like you noticed with Emma. You'll be great at it, Rachel said. You have the instincts and the compassion. Rachel herself had fully transitioned out of the Navy. She'd taken a position training military working dogs and their handlers, but she'd also started a non-profit organization called Watchdog, dedicated to identifying and preventing medical fraud against children. Emma's case had opened Rachel's eyes to how often this type of abuse happened. Children misdiagnosed with disabilities so their caretakers could collect benefits. Kids hidden away in facilities that profited from their suffering. Families exploited by unscrupulous doctors and institutions. Watchdog worked with medical professionals, law enforcement, and advocacy groups to identify suspicious patterns and investigate potential fraud. In its first year, the organization had helped expose 12 cases of medical fraud affecting children. You saved my daughter, Maria had told Rachel when she learned about Watchdog. Now you're saving other children. You're a hero, Rachel. I'm just trying to make a difference, Rachel had replied. But she was making a difference, a huge one. On the 2nd anniversary of Emma regaining her sight, Dr. Brennan invited them to the Naval Medical Center for a celebration and checkup. Emma's vision was now completely normal. She didn't need any corrective lenses. Her eyes were healthy and strong. "It's remarkable," Dr. Brennan said. "Her brain has completely adapted to visual processing. You'd never know she spent 7 years without sight. It's like her visual cortex was just waiting to be activated." "Does she have any long-term effects?" Maria asked. "Psychologically, yes, she'll probably always carry some trauma from what happened. But physically? No. Her eyes are perfect." After the examination, they met Rachel and Axel in the hospital lobby. Axel was getting older now. He was 10, moving a bit slower, his muzzle graying. But he was still alert, still focused, still protective of his people. Emma hugged Axel carefully. "Thank you for saving me," she whispered into his fur. "Thank you for knowing." They went to the beach that afternoon, all of them together. Emma ran along the sand, Hero bounding beside her, both of them full of energy and joy. Maria walked with Rachel, watching her daughter play. "She doesn't remember being blind anymore," Maria said quietly. "Not really. Sometimes she'll say she remembers the darkness, but Dr. Lane says those might be false memories, her brain filling in gaps. What she remembers most is the feeling of helplessness, of being told she couldn't do things. But now she can do anything," Rachel observed. "Because of you," Maria said. "Because you didn't ignore what you saw. Because you got involved when it would have been easier to walk away." Rachel watched Emma and Hero playing, Axel sitting calmly beside her. "I spent 12 years fighting enemies overseas," she said. "But the enemy isn't always in a foreign country. Sometimes it's right here, in our communities, hurting the vulnerable. Emma was lucky. I happened to be in that diner at the right time, and Axel happened to notice something was wrong. But how many other kids aren't so lucky?" "That's why you started Watchdog," Maria said. "To make sure fewer kids slip through the cracks." "Exactly." They were quiet for a moment, watching Emma laugh as Hero jumped over small waves, both of them getting soaked. "I've been thinking," Maria said carefully. "After I finish my nursing program, I want to work with Watchdog. As a medical consultant or something. I want to help identify cases like Emma's. I know what signs to look for now, the things that seem off, the inconsistencies that don't quite add up." Rachel turned to look at her. "Are you serious?" "Completely serious. You gave me back my daughter. I want to help give other parents their children back. Or prevent them from being stolen in the first place." "Then yes," Rachel said immediately. "Absolutely yes. We need people like you, people who understand the medical system, who have personal experience with this kind of fraud, who care enough to fight." They shook hands, sealing the agreement. Two women who'd met by chance in a diner, now bound together by purpose and friendship. Emma ran up to them, soaking wet and grinning. "Mama! Did you see Hero? He jumped so high. I can see him jump. I can see everything." "I know, Mija," Maria said, pulling her daughter close despite the wet sand and water. "I know you can. And you always will." That evening, Maria tucked Emma into bed, a routine that had become precious since Emma could now see the bedroom, see the pictures on the walls, see her mother's face. "Mama?" Emma asked as Maria was about to turn off the light. "Yes, baby. I'm glad I can see now. But I'm also glad I remember what it was like when I couldn't. Does that make sense?" Maria sat on the edge of the bed. "Why are you glad you remember?" Emma thought for a moment. "Because it makes me appreciate everything more. Like, other kids don't think about how amazing it is that they can see colors. They just see them. But I know how special it is. I know what it's like not to see. So every time I see something beautiful, I'm grateful." "That's very wise, Mija. And also, Emma continued, I can help other kids who feel different or scared. Because I know what it's like to be the kid who's different. I know what it's like to be scared. So I can help them. Maria kissed her daughter's forehead. You're going to do great things, Emma. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you too, Mama. You never gave up on me. Even when the doctors said I'd always be blind, you still loved me and took care of me. I'll always love you, Mija. Always. As Maria turned off the light and closed the door, she felt a peace she hadn't known in years. Her daughter could see. The people who'd hurt them were in prison. They were building a new life, stronger and more purposeful than before. In the living room, Maria's nursing textbook sat on the coffee table. In 3 years, she'd have her license. She'd be able to help people professionally, not just as a waitress bringing them coffee and eggs. And then she'd join Rachel at Watchdog, and together they'd save other children from the fate Emma had barely escaped. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rachel, Axel wants to know if Emma can come to the training facility next week. We're getting a new litter of puppies and he thinks she'd like to meet them. Maria smiled and texted back, Emma would love that. Thank you. For everything. Thank you for letting us be part of your lives. You and Emma are family now. Family. Not just by blood, but by choice. By shared trauma and healing. By purpose and love. Maria looked at the photo on her wall, a recent one of Emma, seeing a sunset for the first time. Her daughter's face was filled with wonder, joy, gratitude. This was what they'd fought for. This was what made everything worth it. 5 years later, Maria stood in the Naval Medical Center, wearing scrubs with her name embroidered on them, Maria Gonzalez, LVN. She'd graduated from nursing school and had been hired at the very hospital where Emma had been diagnosed. Where the truth had been discovered. Where their lives had changed forever. Dr. Brennan had personally recommended Maria for the position in the pediatric ophthalmology department. You understand these cases in a way no one else can, Dr. Brennan had said. You'll be able to spot fraud and abuse that others might miss. Maria's first day had been emotional, walking these halls not as a frightened mother with a supposedly blind child, but as a professional, someone with the power to help others. Emma was 14 now, a freshman in high school. She was on the debate team and the track team. She volunteered at an animal shelter, working with dogs. She'd maintained a relationship with Rachel and Axel, even as Axel grew older and eventually retired completely. When Axel died peacefully at age 13, Emma had been devastated. They'd held a memorial service, and Emma had spoken about how Axel had saved her life by noticing what the humans had missed. He was a hero, Emma said. Not just because he was a military working dog, though that's amazing. But because he saw the truth when everyone else saw what they expected to see. He didn't just look at me, he really saw me. And because of that, I can really see now. Hero, now 5 years old and fully grown, had become Emma's constant companion. She'd trained him in basic service dog tasks, not because she needed a service dog, but because it gave her confidence and a sense of partnership. Rachel's watchdog organization had grown significantly. They now operated in 12 states, with a staff of investigators, medical consultants, legal advocates, and social workers. They'd identified and helped prosecute over 100 cases of medical fraud against children. They'd saved countless kids from the fate Emma had suffered. And Maria had become one of Watchdog's most valuable consultants. Working at the Naval Medical Center by day and reviewing cases for Watchdog in her free time, she developed an almost uncanny ability to spot inconsistencies in medical records, suspicious patterns in diagnoses, red flags that indicated fraud rather than legitimate medical conditions. You're a natural investigator, Rachel told her during one of their monthly strategy meetings. You see what others miss. I learned from the best, Maria said, gesturing to Rachel. You're the one who saw what was wrong with Emma when multiple doctors had missed it. I had help, Rachel said, her voice sad. Axel saw it first. They both fell silent, remembering the dog who'd started everything. The military working dog whose instincts and training had saved a little girl from a life of unnecessary darkness. On Emma's 15th birthday, Maria threw a party at their apartment, bigger now, in a better neighborhood, reflecting their improved circumstances. Friends from school came, teachers, neighbors. Rachel was there, along with several people who worked with Watchdog. Dr. Brennan came too, bringing a special gift, a photo album documenting Emma's journey from that first examination to the present. Pictures of Emma learning to see, processing visual information, experiencing color for the first time. Pictures of her playing with Axel and Hero. Pictures of her growing up, a normal, healthy, sighted teenager. "I want you to have this," Dr. Brennan said. "So you never forget how far you've come. So you remember that you survived something terrible and became stronger because of it." Emma looked through the album, tears in her eyes. "I won't forget. I promise. And someday, when I'm older, I'm going to help other kids too. Kids who've been hurt or lied to or made to feel helpless. I'm going to be like Mama and Rachel. I'm going to fight for them." "I know you will," Dr. Brennan said. "You already are, just by being you. Just by being a survivor who refused to let what happened define her." As the party continued, Maria found herself standing on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. She thought about that morning 7 years ago when she'd brought Emma to Rosie's diner, believing her daughter was blind and always would be. She thought about Rachel walking in with Axel, about how a chance encounter had changed everything. "Mama?" Emma joined her on the balcony. "What are you thinking about?" "About how lucky we are," Maria said. "How easily we could have missed this. If Rachel hadn't been in that diner that morning, if Axel hadn't noticed something was wrong, if Rachel hadn't gotten involved, you might still think you're blind." "But she was there," Emma said. "And he did notice. And she did get involved. Maybe that's not luck. Maybe that's fate. Maybe everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to, so I could help other kids someday." Maria pulled her daughter close. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from you," Emma said. "You taught me that bad things can happen, but we don't have to let them destroy us. We can use them to make us stronger. To make us better." They stood together, mother and daughter, watching the lights of the city. Somewhere out there, other children were suffering. Other families were being lied to, exploited, hurt. But because of what had happened to Emma, because of the people who'd fought for her, there was now an organization dedicated to finding those children and saving them. One little girl who'd been made blind, who'd been given back her sight, had started a movement. Had inspired people to look closer, to question more, to fight harder for the vulnerable. That little girl was now a teenager, standing tall and confident, seeing the world with eyes that had been stolen and reclaimed. Seeing not just with her physical eyes, but with the deeper vision that comes from surviving trauma and choosing to use that experience to help others. A waitress had believed her daughter was born blind, because that's what the doctors said, because that's what the glasses suggested, because she had no reason to doubt. But a Navy SEAL and her dog had discovered the truth. Had looked beyond the surface, trusted their instincts, and exposed a conspiracy that had stolen 7 years of a child's life. And because they'd cared enough to act, because they'd refused to walk away, Emma Gonzalez could see. Could live. Could dream. Could become anything she wanted to be. That was the real miracle. Not just the restoration of sight, but the restoration of hope. The proof that good people existed, that help could come from unexpected places, that one person, or one dog, really could change the world. Emma turned to her mother, her eyes, those beautiful, perfectly functional eyes, shining in the city lights. "I can see everything, Mama. Everything." "I know, Mija," Maria whispered. "I know you can. And you always will."